What do you want to start with?
Well, we could just start talking. Let's just start talking
Yeah.
about Godzilla. Let's just
Okay.
open up
Oh, yeah. Maybe
today
we should
is
tell
going to
people.
be
Yeah.
all right. Let's start with the intro. Let's start with
Okay.
the opening. Then
Uh-huh.
let's just start talking about Godzilla. Then
Okay.
we wanted to talk about the new ones, so let's just jump right into the new ones, and then we'll
Okay.
talk about the old ones.
This is Please Like What I Like podcast where we take turns picking movies and talking about movies. This one's going to be a less structured bonus episode. We recently put out an episode about Pacific Rim, kaiju and giant robot movie. It sort of brought up memories of Godzilla movies, and so we decided to do a bonus episode talking about Godzilla stuff. Specifically, I had wanted to talk about Shin Godzilla for a while, and in the Pacific Rim episode, Joe had mentioned -1 because that had recently come out when we recorded it. So, we might talk mostly about those, but largely this is going to be a loose Godzilla discussion.
Yeah, for fans of Godzilla or for people who are maybe Godzilla curious.
Yeah, we probably won't be too spoiler heavy, so
Nah,
it won't
there's
be
not much to
as
spoil.
important that you've seen
Yeah,
everything we
there's not
talk about.
much to spoil
Yeah,
with
you know the
Godzilla.
basic idea with Godzilla.
He
Yeah.
sees city, he
Yeah.
smashes city. The classic tale.
Yeah, sometimes he fights another monster.
And a lot of the good ones he fights in.
Should we start with -1 since that's the most recent, and we'll work our way back, or?
Let's do it. Yeah, we'll start a slow march into the past.
Okay.
So I think when we had recorded Pacific Rim, you had not yet seen this one. Is that true? So you just recently watched it.
Yeah, I only saw it for the first time past couple weeks.
All right. What's your opinion on it?
I think it's a cool action movie. I wasn't prepared for how dramatic the human drama part of it was, so it affected me more than I was expecting. Um,
Which is a lot to say for a Godzilla movie.
yeah, that's not what I expect
Yeah.
from a Godzilla movie.
Oh,
Is like
absolutely.
a hard hitting interpersonal drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially not one that like does romance decently well.
Yeah. Oh,
Like I
absolutely.
don't know if I'd call it romance,
Well, I
but
mean, it's
like
a romance story. It's like
yeah, but like the main conflict in the romance is that neither of them want to really connect with each other that way, even though feels like the universe is pushing
yeah,
together,
yeah.
and like they need each other, but they're not fully willing to admit that like it
Well,
seems
I
from
think
the outside that nothing good is gonna really come from continuing to keep each other at arm's length.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Like it just seems like they both felt like they didn't deserve love, and so we're not actively going after it.
Ah,
I mean, it's been
mm,
what, a year and a half since I'd seen the movie at
mm,
this point. Maybe a year. I don't remember when it. It's not last year.
yeah. I think what's really smart about -1 is like each of the we're gonna talk about 3 different versions of starting Godzilla from scratch, basically,
Yeah,
because Shin Godzilla also is a reboot, and we're also going to talk about the original Godzilla. But both -1 and the original Godzilla feel like the country digesting World War II,
yeah,
or at least like the end of the Pacific Front. People usually focus on the atomic bomb itself, and that's definitely a big part of it, especially since Godzilla is basically awakened by the radiation, right, in the original.
yeah. Hmm.
But in -1 specifically, because they choose this guy who was ordered to carry out a kamikaze attack and then doesn't, it seems to focus in on him being like our introductory surrogate as an audience to dealing with post-war trauma and stress, you know,
Yeah,
because it gives us a window into understanding like how somebody might.
yeah, and it fits. I feel like the first Godzilla movie is Japan trying to kind of come to terms with what happened to it in the war, and I feel like
Mhm.
Godzilla -1 is Japan trying to come to terms with what it did during the war, how it
Mm,
treated its own.
yeah.
And I feel like having a soldier instead of a scientist be the kind of audience's
Mm-hmm.
analog
Surrogate.
surrogate, thank
Yeah.
you, definitely paves that really well. I
Mm-hmm.
think it sets up
Yeah.
that connection almost immediately, and the journey you go on is what they're trying to say.
Mm-hmm. I felt like -1 for me could have, I don't know, it felt a bit mean spirited and self-flagellating from the like
Oh,
perspective of watching the main character. Like by the end of the movie, it still feels like he hasn't forgiven himself in a big way,
yeah.
and like his main thing that he hates himself for is not only that he didn't fulfill his orders, but he blames himself for the attack on the island at the beginning.
Mhm.
But like by the end of the movie, he's gotten so much evidence that him firing the gun he was asked to fire wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah.
That like it feels excessive by that point.
Well, I think that's part of, the like I don't think you can tell this story without him acting in that way,
Mm,
because the whole point is that, like, if he had fulfilled his mission, Japan still wouldn't have won the war. So it's
yeah,
a microcosm of that same thing. Like,
I guess.
these people who, after the war, these Japanese pilots were, like, treated like second class citizens. They were
Mm,
treated poorly by their country folk because they were still alive, meaning they didn't, uh,
yeah,
you know, follow through with their kamikaze. They were thought of as lesser.
yeah, they're scapegoated kind of.
But if every Japanese pilot had kamikazed, like, the Japan
Yeah.
still wouldn't have won. It didn't have
Mm-hmm.
any outcome. So, like,
Yeah.
that's like directly attached. Like, of course, him firing the gun at Godzilla wouldn't have mattered, and he's
Mm.
still beating himself up about it.
Here's one spoiler that skip ahead like a couple minutes if you plan to watch -1. But I felt like killing off the love interest was excessively was excessive. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I mean,
give us some sort of happy ending, you know? Don't don't do
I'm gonna
that.
push back a little bit on
Yeah.
that. I agree that, like, it makes the story a little dour, but, like, I feel like -1 succeeds so well because it makes you care about Godzilla's destruction in a more real way, because there is
Hmm.
a named main character killed by Godzilla. Not at the climax of the movie, somewhere in, like, the
Hmm.
middle, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And, like, it really kind of hammers home, like, all of the destruction in a real way that other Godzilla movies kind of allow to remain in the nameless, faceless destruction category.
Hmm. But like you make this human drama so much, at least for me, about these two people, their complicated relationship, and then like to make it seem like one of the picture for so much of the movie, it feels like it's especially with the man. I feel bad giving this away, especially with how it turns out at the very end. It feels like toying with the audience's emotions in a cruel way to me. But I mean, it is effective, you know. Like it's
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
can see
think
why
it
they
was
did it.
trying for something. Yeah, it was trying for something
Yeah.
different, and I think it
Mhm.
nailed it. But I think that it nailed it at the expense of some levity, which I didn't feel the movie
Yeah.
necessarily needed as much
I
as you
I, I
seem
would
to.
have felt more invested in Act 3 if the relationship drama that I had like gotten attached to still felt like it was working towards something instead of being cut off. You know what I mean?
I guess maybe I'm just so used to Godzilla movies not ending in humans getting a happy ending love story. It usually just ends
Yeah.
with Godzilla dying or being
Mm.
temporarily vanquished, and then the end flashing on the screen with no
Yeah,
human
that's
stories resolved in any way
mhm.
whatsoever. That I
Yeah.
think it's kind of hard to nitpick the human story in this because it did a better job than the other ones. I feel like
Mm.
you're taking points away for it doing something better than the other movies did.
I don't know. I'm just trying to say how like
But I get it.
what
Yeah,
my
you can't
viewing experience
take. You're
was.
not trying to change. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to change your viewing experience. I'm
Uh-huh.
just saying that I disagree with your final what the things that bothered you about it. I
Uh-huh.
feel were features and not
Okay.
flaws. Like I think the movie has more emotional weight. Like
Mm.
period, all around, and
Yeah.
like it wasn't necessarily trying to do what you wanted it to do. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't part
Uh-huh.
of its plan. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
can't fail at something it doesn't want. So I don't take points off for that. I
Yeah.
feel like it's part of the movie and I accept it.
Mm.
But I've also seen it twice. Like I think the first time I saw it, I might have felt a little
Yeah.
bit similar to you. I might have felt a little
Yeah.
bit like the human drama was wasted. But the second time, it was just like a rip roaring good time of a Godzilla
Mm-hmm.
movie that I cared more
Yeah.
for the
Well,
human
like
element of
a
than I've
second
ever cared
time.
for the human element in the
Uh-huh.
Godzilla movie.
Like I didn't watch it a second time, so I can't comment
Hmm.
on it. But since I know how it ends now, like I probably wouldn't have like felt my attention slipping after, the implied death. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? I don't know.
yeah,
I'm just it's not so much that I didn't get what I wanted. It's that I feel like an emotional narrative was being dangled in front of me and then ripped away too early.
I,
You know what I
I can
mean?
see that. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah. Anyway, but I mean, I still enjoyed the movie. I still think it's a good monster movie. Uh, it does
yeah.
both the both Shin Godzilla and Minus One. I think do like aftermath really well in a way the old Godzilla movies tend to not do as well. Where you
Oh
see
yeah,
like the destroyed remains of the cities. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I feel like that's something that they kind of got back from the first Godzilla, and I feel like all three movies have very similar story beats
Yeah.
in a way where like they kind of climax in the middle of the movie.
Okay.
And then the resolution portion of the movie is kind of like almost the whole second. You know, it's like Shin Godzilla with the big first blast, the
Mm,
first Godzilla movie with the big first blast, and minus one with the big first blast. It's all this big moment, and it
yeah.
happens relatively early in the movie's runtime in comparison to
Mm-hmm.
when most other movies will have such
Yeah.
a big moment. But I feel like they all do a good job with that of showing the human aftermath of Godzilla, whereas
Uh-huh.
the other Godzilla movies are more like stereotypically structured narratively, where
Yeah.
the big
They're like a B monster movie.
confrontation happens at the end, and after the monsters are done,
Uh-huh.
it just kind of goes to credits,
Yeah.
and you don't really see what
True, true.
happened. I feel like
I think
like
like
I just watched
both
the first.
Shin
Go ahead.
like Shin and Minus One by sort of working more on the human part of the story. All three this is the first Godzilla's. All three of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
you know what I mean?
All three of the origin
They all
stories.
kind of separate Godzilla's ramping up from the narrative of the human story in different ways, I think. But they all feel like a kind of separate thing narratively.
Hmm.
And I think that's a big part of why the big exciting thing happens early on compared to like the action of the human narrative,
Yeah, yeah.
because like Godzilla can't keep ramping up his rampage until the very end of the movie, because then humans never get to catch up and win. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you kind of just because it's the like a force of nature against mankind, you kind of have to uh, have that the third act sort of lag a little bit, so that the
Hmm.
people can devise a way to overcome. But yeah, I mean, I think they all succeed at it though. You know,
Oh, definitely.
like I don't get bored of any of these
I
movies.
think these are the three best Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily my
Hmm.
favorite, But I think, like, cinematically speaking, these are the three best Godzilla movies. I feel like all three of them handle the major elements of a Godzilla movie
Yeah.
the best.
These are definitely like the three movies that I wouldn't feel weird about recommending to anybody, you know? Like a
Yeah,
lot of
for
the
sure. Well,
movies where
I
it's
mean,
Godzilla versus another monster, it's like, oh, this is for kaiju fans, you know?
yeah.
But like a random action movie fan might not be as interested.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that for sure. You had kind of said compared, well, not compared, but you like talked about Godzilla as natural disaster, and during this year, I really thought how funny it is that one of my least favorite film genres is the natural disaster movie, but one of my
Mm,
favorite film genres is natural disaster plus character
okay.
design. I don't know. I
What do
just
you?
thought it was funny. Like,
Yeah.
my favorite movies are kaiju movies, and all it
Oh,
is
okay.
just a natural disaster
Yeah.
movie plus character design. They just designed the earthquake to have a tail and shoot fire, and I'm like, yo, this earthquake's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But like, you put me in front of San Andreas, and I'm like, what's this boring slop?
What? Yeah, because you can't like buy an action figure of an earthquake or a tornado or something, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess it's just like a certain amount of anthropomorphization a little bit. Although they don't make them
yeah,
into
yeah,
humans, they make them into basically animals, like a mascot, mascot version of it.
yeah, yeah. I need my natural disasters to have a
Yeah.
mask.
Do you think, speaking of character design, I felt like minus one kind of felt like the original Godzilla, but more like realistic, I guess. Like it feels very
I
natural.
think Yeah, I love the Godzilla minus one character design way more than any of the other
Yeah.
CGI Godzilla. I think it does a perfect job of making Godzilla CGI, whereas every other Godzilla CGI, instead of making Godzilla a CGI, they just make Godzilla a big dinosaur. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, they make him more lizard-like, or they
Mm.
make him more
Okay.
reptilian. But like, Godzilla's Godzilla. He's supposed to
Mm.
look like Godzilla. He's not supposed to look like a dinosaur. Godzilla, like,
Well,
his
like,
design
isn't
might have been like, the origin of his design might have been to fit a guy in a suit, but that's
mm.
what he looks like now. He looks like a guy in a suit, and like, if
Okay.
you make him look like a dinosaur, that's not Godzilla to me. That's a fucking
Mm.
dinosaur.
There's also like I feel like Godzilla has a very dog-like aspect to
Yeah,
him that the dinosaurs don't
absolutely.
generally have.
Yeah, he's got like, that like that East Asian dragon lion
Mm.
dog face type thing influence.
Okay. I hadn't even made that connection, but yeah.
And I think it's like a necessary part of Godzilla's like design. Like,
Mm.
all the American Godzillas just make him look like a dinosaur with spikes, like a
Mm.
Stegosaurus T-Rex, and that's not what Godzilla is to me. And it's like
Okay.
there's something heartless and
Yeah.
soulless about the
Well,
look.
I mean, we'll talk about it when we get to Shin, but I have a lot of affection for the Shin Godzilla designs.
Oh, I liked Shin Godzilla too. I hadn't seen that until after. I felt like they did a good job making him look like
Yeah.
Godzilla, and like kind of while still showing the evolution of
Yeah.
his look. I think we can go on to Shin Godzilla now.
Okay.
We can probably just like
Yeah.
smoothly transition to talking about that.
Okay.
But I feel like they kind of naturally evolved that larval stage
Mm.
to look like a Godzilla I'd recognize as a
Yeah.
Godzilla, as opposed to a dinosaur.
Oh, I wanted to mention one thing about Godzilla minus one before we move on.
Sure thing, buddy.
I thought the whole thing about him getting a job disarming sea mines was a really smart idea because like it fits in so well with the like whole like digesting the war thing. Uh,
Yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know, yeah,
Really
and
smart
like it,
choice.
yeah, and also like injects explosions into one part of the movie that could have been
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
dull, and like gives him a weapon. It's great.
I thought the scene where Godzilla is chasing the boat
Hmm.
was, up until that moment, like one of the most thrilling moments in all of
Yeah.
Godzilla.
Yeah, that was really good.
Like him chasing the boat was like edge of
Hmm.
my seat. Like I had never had that quite of a tense moment watching Godzilla. You know,
It
it was
feels
really
it feels
tense.
so much like something out of like an arcade game to me.
Yeah, yeah, dude. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, like Time
like you could see
Crisis or
that.
something.
Yeah, you could see that made into a game so
Oh, for
easily.
sure.
That was like having to like explode the mine in Godzilla's mouth before he catches up to the boat, kind of thing.
I
Yeah.
might have said this. I might be repeating myself. I might have said this when we did the Pacific Rim episode, but when I saw Godzilla -1, I was in the second row of IMAX, which is normally
Oh.
not my favorite place to be. But there's
Uh-huh.
something about staring straight up at Godzilla. It was like one
Oh
of my
yeah.
favorite movie watching experiences of all time.
Yeah, that sounds very like fitting.
Yeah, it was really great. Probably the only time I'll choose to sit in the second row.
Oh, and -1. Have you seen any other movies from the guy who directed it? I still haven't. I just
I
happen
haven't.
to know that he did some other stuff.
No, I wasn't
I
familiar.
think I might have brought this up during Pacific Rim. I think I might have brought this up during the Pacific Rim episode. But he did a loop on the third movie that I saw on my watch list
Oh,
somewhere. But he seems
yeah, I haven't
to
yet.
like his main thing seems to be taking IPs that already exist and like making them into like blockbuster movies instead of like whatever they were originally. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
He's an amplifier rather than a than a creator, I suppose. Oh, I didn't look up into like who the writers and stuff were, but I thought the -1, a lot of its strengths had to do with the writing. You know. Anyway,
Hmm.
I guess I don't have much to say about the people that made it, so I shouldn't have went into that. But I do have stuff to say about Hideaki Anno, so let's talk about Shin Godzilla.
All right. Yeah. So this was my first watch of Shin Godzilla for
Hmm.
recently, and yeah, that absolutely blew me
Yeah,
away. Yeah, I really
it's
loved
a.
it.
I think it's like it's a really unique movie. Like it takes so long for human characters to like assert themselves in the narrative that for so long it feels like you're watching like board meetings, you know? And then like
Yeah,
some of those people end up having like stories to latch onto.
like the first like third of the movie is like a chaotic surge of stimulus. It's just
Yeah.
like it just switches between news story, found footage, standard narrative film. It
Hmm.
puts you like at the creature's feet, it puts you in the air, it puts you in sea.
Yeah.
It's like it's really choppy, it's really quick, it's really
Hmm.
dynamic. It
Yeah.
features a range of different types of horror movie to
Hmm.
put in the
I feel like you
kaiju.
can kind of tell that this is like filmmakers that have a background in animation. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, it feels very storyboarded rather than plotted out in script form. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Similar to the way like Fury Road kind
True.
of like
I
one
still have
thing
yet to
just kind of
watch
leads
Fury
right
Road. We
into.
should do a Fury Road episode.
You've never
I
seen
still haven't
Fury
seen
Road?
it.
That should be an episode. Did you get to see Shin Godzilla in theaters, or I don't remember
No,
2016 too.
it had a very limited release in theaters, and actually, like I'm a big Anno fan, uh, so I definitely heard about Shin Godzilla when it was coming out, and I was hoping to see it in theaters. So I didn't watch like
He's a Evangelion guy,
yeah,
right?
Evangelion, well, Gainax in general, and like I'll talk about him in a minute, but like
I think we talked about him a lot on the Pacific Rim episode,
yeah,
didn't we?
I'll talk about like well, let me give a
Go
brief
ahead.
rundown because like we talked about Evangelion a lot and Gainax, like the history of Gainax a lot. But after
Yeah.
Evangelion, Anno felt like emotionally exhausted because Evangelion puts a lot of like his personal fears and there's a lot of self-deprecation in Evangelion. So like when he finished Evangelion, he took a break from anime for a while. Like he worked on his and her circumstances for Gainax, so he was a little bit he was still active in Gainax a bit, but he also wasn't as much in charge of that as like the people that would go on to start Trigger and like the guy we talked about in Dead Leaves. Anyway,
Yeah.
Anno himself took a break to make some live action movies. They were low budget live action movies. They're both kind of mean spirited. I still enjoyed watching them because there's a lot of creativity going into them, especially visually. But I
Hmm.
wouldn't really recommend them. There's Love and Pop and there's Ritual. Like Love and Pop is about compensated dating, which is basically prostitution, but the girl
Hmm.
that you're following doesn't intend for it to be, and then kind of gets swept up into prostitution. So there's some very
Hmm.
uncomfortable sex scenes in that movie. And then
Gotcha.
there's Ritual, which is about a shut-in lady that, like, a guy meets a weird woman who is squatting in this abandoned building, and she spends her time like making these weird like installation art pieces in this building. So there's like neat sets and stuff, but it also feels like, I don't know, the movie also kind of feels like mean spirited towards its main character in the same way
Hmm.
that Love and Pop does. Um, so there's definitely a lot of like negative like emotions getting worked out in those movies, but there's also a lot of visual creativity. Then
Hmm.
after that, he starts working on the rebuild of Evangelion movies, which once again seems to take a lot out of him.
Hmm.
And these live action movies are like his next break from animation after I think the first two rebuild movies. He might have been finished the third one before starting this. But Anno's like the main creative force behind Shin Godzilla, like directorially and stuff. But like I think he also worked on Shin Kamen Rider and maybe Shin Ultraman, but I don't think he's the director of those. I think he's more of a behind the scenes guy. I still have yet to watch Shin Ultraman, but I enjoyed like the first half of Shin Kamen Rider. I'm not as much of a tokusatsu guy as I am like a giant robot guy.
Yeah, neither am I.
Uh, so yeah, but it's still a fun movie. It just gets more into like generic action as it goes, and so I found diminishing returns with Shin Kamen Rider. I
Hmm.
still want to watch Shin Ultraman though. I'm sure there's giant monsters in that one too.
Yeah, there's got.
But yeah, it's like a trilogy of like supposed to be fresh takes on classic, nerd franchises,
Hmm.
basically. Kamen Rider, Ultraman, and Godzilla. By coincidence, Shin Godzilla happened to be worked on right after the Fukushima nuclear disaster and ends up kind of absorbing the narrative.
Yeah,
So
that
like
makes sense.
like Shin Godzilla is as much a reaction to that as like the original Godzilla is a reaction to World War II and to the nuclear
Hmm.
bomb. Yeah, so I think that kind of is shadowed in the like forms that Godzilla's attacks take, because the first attack is mostly physical, and then like he's rampaging on his belly across the city, and like the aftermath is all destroyed buildings, but it's not burned. There's no
Yeah.
radiation yet, so that's like the earthquake itself,
Hmm.
and then like the when the military actually gets involved, that's when the scene you talked about where he's like actually shooting the beams and whatnot,
Yeah.
and that's basically the nuclear meltdown,
Yeah. Hmm.
What's when the other countries get involved because they don't want the radiation to spread, and the people are getting evacuated, and people are worried about radiation and whatnot. Yeah, and then like there's the showdown at the end where the people finally come together to make the city livable again by they basically shove concrete down his throat, which is
Yeah.
a very unique way to deal with it,
Hey.
but it's still a cool
Yeah, that was
set
cool.
piece.
I liked that. Yeah, I liked
Yeah.
the end of the movie. I think the human climax of that one is thrilling.
hmm Like it's kind of like what we tend to talk about in horror movies a lot, where a lot of the movie isn't so much the people's reaction to like the outside threat, but their inability to work together. There's
Yeah.
a lot of like self-interest kind of popping in along the way in this movie. There's like the prime minister's ego, the replacement prime minister's not knowing what he's doing,
Hmm.
the United States getting involved and turning out to be mostly working to keep Godzilla contained in Japan rather than helping to protect Japan.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's that whole argument kind of early on in Shin Godzilla where they're worried about using the SDF against Godzilla because of the terms of the peace treaty after World War II
Hmm.
that like it doesn't allow Japan to use its army in certain ways.
Hmm.
And it's like kind of surprising that this doesn't come up more in monster movies, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of these Japanese kaiju movies, they just like send in these bombers and
Hmm.
stuff, but it's like, no, that would kind of be an international incident,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? I don't know.
Well, I guess a lot of the Godzilla movies tend to cut around a lot of the nitty gritty of the government and
That's
go
true.
more towards the
Yeah, that's
fanciful
this
and
one
stuff.
does focus a lot more on infrastructure and like behind the scenes deal making and stuff. As a part of what makes it so unique.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like that also kind of adds to the horror element of the movie. It like really gets into the nitty gritty horror of natural disasters with like the talk of the leftover radiation and the
Mm,
governance after all the leaders are wiped out and like stuff like that. Like
mm-hmm.
a lot of the Godzilla movies don't get into that. It's like I said, it's
Yeah.
normally like Godzilla fights a monster in the city and the credits roll.
Mm. It kind of illustrates how separated leaders can be from the
Oh
suffering
yeah,
of
sure.
common people. So much of the conversations we see in Shin Godzilla are like people relatively safely
Hmm.
in buildings and stuff having conversations and looking at like printouts and data and stuff while the people in the streets are getting uh, s-
I
crushed and
thought
stuff.
the editing and music of Shin Godzilla really did a lot of good work to keep the kind of dry discussions entertaining and intriguing. Like there was that whole
Yeah.
table discussion that was like 15 minutes of just people talking around a table, but the way that like music and
Mm.
editing kind of all worked together, it didn't feel like you were just watching people have a
Yeah.
picnic.
Yeah, that keeps things pumped and the camera keeps moving or
Yeah.
cutting quickly. The first time I watched Shin Godzilla, I feel like I didn't get the sort of commentary and
Mhm.
satire as much as I did on subsequent watches. You know what I mean?
I mean, I've only watched it the one time.
Yeah. So I feel like the first time I watched it, there's definitely like a sense of people having trouble figuring out how to deal with the situation. People like trying to at the same time organize themselves and uh, deal with a new problem. But like, I feel like it's making. Uh, how do I put this? Like, I feel like it's got more to say about these institutions as far as what good they're doing to the situation
Hmm.
at hand and how much they have the interests of the people they're representing at heart, like their own egos or their own uh, careers. I think there's a bit of a sort of anti-establishment kind of edge to this that is hard to pick up on unless you're really paying attention. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm going to time you out
Uh,
real quick because I just saw something and I just
sure.
have to say it out. All right. So a guy just walked by my front
Uh
lawn
huh.
with a weed
Uh huh.
whacker and weed whacked a little bit of my front lawn.
Okay.
My front lawn is astroturf. What the hell just happened?
I don't know. I guess he didn't like that part.
What the hell just happened? I just watched a guy walk up to the edge of my front lawn and do nothing.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, sorry.
I don't know.
It was very distracting to me.
Yeah, that's okay. I,
I
what
got
I was saying was something that is hard to put into words and would have worked out better if I had actually like taken notes and
I
prepared a
get that.
statement. It's just as well. We should probably move on.
Sorry, but
That's okay. How about character design? Shin Godzilla character design, because I
I don't know.
love how goofy the starting evolution is. Oh, what's that?
So I took particular note of the evolution of
Mm,
his eye. It reminded me of when you and I
okay.
went to that Radio Lab Live
Uh
event
huh.
in Philly, and one of the subjects was
Yeah.
the evolution of
Sure.
sight and eye. And we did that whole thing where
Uh
everybody
huh.
lit up that bulb in the audience, and there was all those bulbs. It just reminded me of a nice time you and I had.
Yeah. That was a fun trip.
But yeah, I really like all the different changes that he undergoes until he becomes like the
Hmm.
capital G Godzilla we know.
Yeah. I was wondering while rewatching it this time if the idea with his eyes was that his eyes basically stay the same because like in that initial form, I think he's definitely smaller, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to tell because he's on his stomach, but like he's got like buildings up to his hip later in the movie, and he the sort of same size buildings. He's basically the same size as if he climbs up and supports himself on the side of one, when
Mhm.
at that early form. So he's definitely growing, but I think the idea is like his eyes don't grow with him, and that's why he's got beady little like pinhole eyes by the end. While he's got huge cartoonish eyes at the beginning.
They might not grow, but they definitely
Yeah,
change because at first they're just like these big
yeah, they like
discs,
googly eyes.
and like they eventually evolve to have like more of the iris and pupil. But before they're just like big
Yeah.
light absorbing
Mm.
discs.
And also, there's some reaction to his like heat ray thing when he has that incident with the bombers attacking him. You
Hmm.
see him like Godzilla's begun to glow,
Yeah.
and like his back things and his stomach, you can kind of see through the skin that his internal reactors like glowing, but his eyes seem like a window into it, right? Like you get like a different view through them. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a few shots where it like focuses in on the eye, and it seems like a blue fire that builds,
Hmm.
and then goes out once he finally cools down.
Yeah, I can see it.
But yeah, his eyes are neat, and they really like. There's a lot of parts of this movie where it looks like it hurts to be him.
Oh yeah,
It
the whole
hurts. It
movie.
looks like
Yeah.
very painful the way he changes, and
Hmm.
like like they say that he's seeking out water. It's like he goes on land, and then his body starts to heat up from being out of the water, and he has to get back in the water
Hmm.
because he's letting out too much energy, and I guess like letting out energy is what he's doing when he's attacking, so that's why he goes like dormant after that big attack.
Hmm.
If the way that the internal heat and energy seems to glow through his body, he looks uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
And like
It
yeah,
just looks like life is
and
pain.
his jaw tears apart.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh man, I feel bad. I feel bad for Shin Godzilla. But like, that's nature, right?
Yeah.
Nature doesn't care if it's if its creatures are having a good time.
I I had read a review
Hmm.
that talks a little bit about what I talked about at the beginning, about specifically about Shin Godzilla having third act problems because of how
Okay.
big the blast feels
Hmm.
and how it doesn't really achieve that height again.
Okay.
But I want to push back on specifically Shin Godzilla.
Okay.
I want to push back against that review. Even though I
Okay.
said something similar earlier, I do feel like this one in particular, the human story, is put
Yeah.
together in a very compelling way that has its own
Uh
climax
huh.
that I feel really works because, like,
Yeah.
I feel
It
like the
feels.
person who said that didn't
Hmm.
get into the whole camaraderie thing and people coming together and winning.
Yeah.
I feel like they were jaded.
Uh huh.
I feel like it works in this
Like you know, by the time that attack happens, that's like the climax of Godzilla ramping up his power,
one. Hmm.
basically. Like you're so frustrated with the people in the movie, or at least I was.
Yeah, absolutely. It got so
Yeah,
far.
you're kind of rooting for at least against the army, because that the bombers aren't doing any good.
Yeah,
They're just wrecking more of the city, and it kind of feels good that wins against them, basically.
absolutely.
And but then from then, like a lot of the the human gotten their kick in the ass that they needed,
Hmm.
and like the characters there's characters that have been there the whole time that are finally like being assertive enough to like guide the problem solving,
Hmm.
and by the end it feels really good that like the
Yeah,
people have learned to work together, and by giving the people that like focus at the third act, that allows that to happen. Like if they
hmm
had wedged in another big Godzilla attack, I don't think it would work as well.
yeah. Like I feel like you know the Yeah, like the kamikaze plan and Godzilla -1 and stuff was
Okay.
thrilling and thematically relevant and wrapped up the movie really well. And you know
Mm.
the what was it, oxygen destroying bombs in the first Godzilla.
Mm.
You know, it was like
Yeah.
Chekhov's gun thing. It wrapped up the story really
Mm.
well, and it was a thrilling climax as well. But I feel like Shin Godzilla was the only movie I heard this criticism about, and I just wanted to defend
Yeah.
it because I thought it was equally
Okay.
as thematically good. I thought it was a good
Mm.
climax that keeps the story running, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
all three movies work in spite of what might seem like a climax in the very middle of the movie.
Mm.
Have you recently watched the original Godzilla? Do you have it fresh in mind?
Kind of. But let me say a couple last things about Shin before we move on. If you're just listening and you haven't watched Shin Godzilla, I think we haven't given enough away to ruin it. You should still watch it. Shin Godzilla, I think, got a big reaction online that like there's still fan art I think coming out of Shin Godzilla. Like you
Hmm.
still see him popping up in fan art a lot, and particularly both the Western fandom and the Japanese fandom seem to have latched on to that one girl in the meetings that's like she's very socially awkward. She tends to like stare forward when she's talking.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking
yeah.
about? Short-haired girl.
Hmm.
Because there's like, it seems like the like Patterson, the American girl, was supposed to be like the sex symbol of that movie. Because like she's very like assertive. She's very conventionally pretty.
Hmm.
But like both sides of the Godzilla fandom love that nerdy girl, and you see so much fan art of her. I don't know. I just think it's cool
All
that
right.
that this girl that wasn't supposed to like clearly she's like she's one of the main characters I suppose, but she's not like the main hero of the story, and she's basically just one of like she's like a tier two
Hmm.
kind of the heroes of that story, uh, and like I feel like the fan side of Shin Godzilla really latched onto her in a very noticeable way. You know,
Yeah.
it was surprising to me how much you see her and not any other human from this movie. Anyway, I forget her name. It begins with O, I think. Oh, I have a hard time with the names from this movie. Anyway, yeah. Also, kind of, I like the replacement prime minister guy just because he's so like he's such like a do nothing politician.
Well, like he
uh,
like some,
he's the agricultural
yeah, like
minister.
bureaucrat.
Yeah, like
He's not like a charismatic leader who
no.
was like he was just a guy who probably went to agricultural college and
Uh-huh.
knows enough about
Yeah.
plants to get that.
He's like a perfect illustration that no one that would have been elected anyway is still in the like hierarchy high enough to take over.
Yep.
So here's this politician that thought agricultural ministry was going to be the high point of his career, and now he's the prime minister. And like he gets this like scene where he's on camera. He gets like what's it called when people give you like the summary of what's happened so far? He gets whatever that is. He gets the rundown of what's happened
Debriefed.
so far. Debriefed, yeah, he gets debriefed on the Godzilla situation. And he's like, all right, okay. And then like the officials leave his room, and he's like, oh no, my noodles are soggy. I knew this was going to be a hard job.
Yeah.
Okay, I can move on from Shin Godzilla,
If the
but
agricultural minister had to take over during the Biollante attack, that might be something different. Godzilla? I don't know.
is Biolante the pollution?
No, it's the
No.
rose, like plant bush
Oh, okay.
monster.
Okay. I've seen that one. Not since I was a kid, but I've seen that one. All right. So the original Godzilla.
Yeah, so yeah, I recently rewatched it. I watched it, I
Mm-hmm.
think, you know, 3 days ago at this point, 4 days
Yeah.
ago, Saturday.
I
I
watched it
watched
the
it
same night
Saturday.
that you did.
Oh,
Because
you
like
did?
you check, yeah, you messaged me the title card,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'll watch that now. And so we might have been watching it at the same time. Um, I just want to say love that first attack scene where you don't get to see Godzilla, but like
Yeah.
there's the people on, I think it's Oda Island or whatever. You see people, I think they're at a bar or something, or like
Mhm.
it's probably like a military base. It's like the part of the military base where they get to unwind and stuff. And
Yeah.
then people all react to something, and then there's a bright flash, and people like scream in reaction, and then it's like cuts to everybody uh, being gone. It's like that cuts to
Oh
the
yeah.
aftermath basically. I think it's like a
It's
really
so
good.
cool.
Yeah, it's so quick and so artfully done. Yeah, I love that. I also found myself really enjoying the overall look of the first Godzilla movie. Uh,
Yeah, it's really well shot.
yeah, it's got the really like dark, like sort of like the Universal monster movie kind of look, like a gothic
Yeah,
horror kind of look.
really contrasty look
Hmm.
to the Godzilla scenes, night scenes. I really liked the scene in this movie where Godzilla fires the beam for the first time, or not first time, but the big one in the city as well, when he's kind of like standing in front of the fire and stuff. I thought that was
Mm.
some of the best. Like, I I didn't watch it that long ago. I think like
Hmm.
maybe 5 years, 6 years ago, I watched it with Jack when I got the
Hmm.
book, when I got
Okay.
the Godzilla set or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the Blu-ray set.
yeah, and maybe it was just because I was watching it on a worse TV, or maybe it was because I was watching it while bullshitting with a brother, or what have you, watching in a brighter room, whatever. But like watching it in like the perfect condition of my room at night with no lights on and
Hmm.
stuff, the scene of him firing that beam at night is so beautifully filmed. Like I was not
Yeah.
expecting it to look that good in black.
Mm.
It was like he's like super stark and black in front of the glow of the
Yeah.
fire. It just looks really
Hmm.
good looking. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe how good looking that in particular
The
was.
first one, because of that high contrast lighting, like it covers up a lot of it makes Godzilla himself look a lot better because so much of him is kept mysterious and in shadow and stuff.
Yeah. Hmm.
And like the high contrast also just makes his beam like more striking.
Yeah. Yeah.
It works. It just ends up working really well for this movie. But like, it's something that they really didn't carry on for the next one.
Hmm.
'Cause the lighting's so much worse in Raids Again.
Well, I think almost everything is worse in Raids Again. But
Yeah.
I think the most egregious part of it is the human drama. I think it is
Mm.
by far some of the worst human drama in the Godzilla franchise, and it takes up a lot of the
Yeah, and
runtime.
should we talk about Raids Again now?
I haven't seen it
Yeah. All right. Let me.
since I was younger, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, we'll just talk about all the Godzilla.
Yeah. Yeah, let me give my review of Raids Again then. Pretty much everything is worse in Raids Again. It's a different director. It's not
Hmm.
Ishiro Honda. So I'm gonna blame that for a lot of it. But
Yeah, for
like you said,
sure. It was also hastily put together.
yeah, it feels like those like Sandy Frank movies that are edited
Yeah,
together from Japanese TV shows.
yes, I do.
Yeah, that's what it feels like
I
Fugitive
bet that's what they
or
did it
something.
at a script level.
Yeah, yeah, because
It's just some sort of Frankenstein script turned
yeah,
into a movie.
because it like aside from those like handful of human characters who we don't, I'll talk about them in a second. Aside from them, there's really no ongoing narrative to it at all. It feels like a series of like barely connected things that happen. You know?
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. We might as well talk about it. The drama is so hard to get invested in because we don't like learn much about anybody. There's like the pilot and the radio lady who are going to get married,
Hmm.
and their wedding gets like postponed by Godzilla, and I guess that's supposed to be I don't know, something for us to hold on to. It's
I guess, yeah.
and like and there's their friend the pilot Kobayashi I think is his name, and we're supposed to be rooting for him to also get engaged because he's got a girlfriend he hasn't told anybody about. And people keep like he gets like the joke nickname Mr. Groom. This like unfunny joke that just they put and put
Yeah,
there's nothing funny about it.
there's nothing at all. Wow.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, this guy is talking about how he wants to get married. Let's call him Mr. Groom, and that's
What a
the whole joke,
loser.
I guess. But like I mean, like the Kobayashi, everybody seems to like him. He gets along with everybody great, and I guess that's just to make us feel bad because he dies towards the end. He's the guy that we learn the most about, even though he's not part of like the main couple that we're supposed to be invested in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
What a
so weird.
weird movie.
Yeah, I mean, like when they first get introduced, that main couple, they're like flirting over radio, and at first I was,
Hmm.
oh, these guys are cute. I hope nothing bad happens to them. And then the guy like gets shot down, and then Godzilla gets reintroduced because he's fighting Anguirus on the island. But then like Kobayashi rescues him. Feels like we should move on from the couple because nothing more to really do. But they
Yeah.
keep like showing up, and then nothing more really happens with them except for their investment in their friend Kobayashi's life.
Yeah, it's like there was a
Uh
movie
huh.
about the Kobayashi and his friends
Yeah.
that got all the interesting parts taken out and replaced with Godzilla.
Yeah, I guess. But
And now I can't follow any
like
of
we don't earn enough to get invested in these people because their interactions are also like collegiate. You know what I mean? It feels like a workplace where nobody like talks outside of work kind of thing, and
Yeah.
nobody knows too much about each other's private lives. But they have occasional workplace jokes.
It's a whole movie that takes place in the break room.
Yeah. So it's like yeah, it's really hard to get invested in anybody. Anyway,
At least it gave us Anguirus.
that's my next thing.
You know,
So as a kid, like Ankylosaur was my favorite dinosaur. I don't know why,
oh yeah, for sure.
and I latched onto Ankylosaur. So like, it's upsetting, I guess. This is was my first time watching it. Godzilla Raids Again.
Hmm.
But yeah, this was my first time watching it. So I had seen Anguirus as like an illustration in like like there's crappy Godzilla video games from the 80s and 90s, and none of them are worth tracking down. But they always want to use Anguirus for some reason. But so you see him a lot, like video game pixel form, or you see him on like. Does he appear in like any of those all monsters attack type Godzilla movies where they dredge up a bunch of different monsters, or is this pretty much his only Godzilla movie? You know?
He's in Destroy All Monsters, Godzilla
Yeah.
vs. Gigan, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, and
Oh,
they
okay.
bring him back for Final Wars, which I haven't seen.
Okay. So that's probably why
But
he
I've seen the other
does a lot
three.
of stuff is because
Yeah,
he
yeah.
pops up in other movies. Okay. Because like in this movie he
Destroy All Monsters is like in the top 5 for me. I've seen
yeah.
the Anguirus is pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've seen any of the like the big get together ones. I should really track down. What was that one?
Just
All Monsters.
Destroy All Monsters.
Yeah,
I
I should
have
watch that one.
All Monsters Attack in my list of non-recommendations.
Yeah, I remember you saying one of them was bad. One of these like
Yeah,
multi-monster
we can
movies.
talk about it at the end.
Okay.
We'll continue.
Let me. Yeah, I've still got more to complain about with Raids Again. So, Anguirus really gets dealt dirty by this movie. He's out of it by like the halfway point, and like Ankylosaur, like if you're gonna make a monster based on him, the two things you'd want to have him do, right, are like using his Thagomizer thing. He's got like that.
Yeah,
It's basically
the
like a mace tail.
ball.
Yeah, you'd want to like sweep Godzilla out from his feet or something with that, have Godzilla land on top of a
Yeah.
building and be like, "Oh, I can't get up." That would be great. You could do that. Ankylosaur's major defenses are all like against attacks from the top. So
Yeah.
you'd want him to stay low to the ground and like have Godzilla try to like attack his spiny part and get hurt or something, Those are like the two things you'd want to make sure you do with Anguirus, and they don't do either. They keep having him like stand up on his hind legs and fight like a sumo wrestler.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, his
And
the
he
fights.
looks so awkward because of the way
Yeah.
the suit's built. Like it.
Yeah. Like
Oh man,
in
look.
this movie, I suspect that there's two sets of like main monster props. I think there's like man in suit sized props, and I think there's hand puppets because there's a lot of
Mhm.
scenes where you only see them from like the waist up, and it really looks like a hand is in their mouth going rah, or, you know.
Oh, I bet.
Um, yeah, so I that's what I suspect is happening with them. But in both situations, you can understand why the Anguirus monster, why they'd want to put him on his hind legs. But
Hmm.
like just from like a monster design point of view, it makes no sense for him to do that, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And yeah, the man in suit scenes look like sumo fights in rubber suits to me, because they're
Hmm.
both trying to push each other back the whole time. Yeah, and it's just like the only fun part about watching them, I think, is like the miniature buildings getting destroyed. But you can watch that in most monster movies. Yeah, I don't know. It's disappointing. And then like when he finally is low to the ground, Godzilla just bites his neck and then it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and guy just gets dealt dirty, but I'm glad to hear he gets other chances to shine, because I do think he's a neat design.
He's a fan favorite for sure.
Yeah. So we got, yeah, it definitely feels like a movie where things just happen. Like I just said, like the Anguirus versus Godzilla fight is over by the halfway point, and then it's just another movie about trying to get rid of Godzilla.
Hmm.
You've got that whole thing in the middle with the escaped criminals that goes like, why is that there?
I don't
The
even remember that
yeah, there's
when I
like a
watched it as a kid.
there's like a prison like transfer of like criminals in the back of like a police wagon, and they escape during the like confusion of the monster attack. And there's a bunch of scenes of them like running away, and like the police capture like running after them. And I don't think you ever see them get recaptured, I don't think you ever see the criminals go on to do anything. It's just a thing that happens.
It's just lazy bullshit.
Yeah. I don't know why it's there. Um, I do like the parts where they try to like redirect Godzilla out towards the ocean using the what do you call it, the flares. Do they do that in the first
Hmm.
one too, or is that just in this one? Forget.
I think in the first one he goes to the ocean on his own.
Okay. Anyway, in the second one they try to redirect them using flares, and the shots where he's like looking up at the flares are really like cute. I don't know.
Hmm.
It looks like if you see a dog looking at fireworks or something, or a dog watching
Yeah.
watching like birds fly through the sky or something like that. That's about it. Oh, but also that ends up being pointless too, because they succeed in redirecting Godzilla out into the ocean, but he doesn't stay there. He just comes back, and then but like they don't have a scene where they announce Godzilla turning around. I don't think it's just they celebrate that they got him to turn around, and then some other stuff happens, and then there's a
And he's
scene
back on
where
land.
Godzilla's on land again fighting tanks and stuff, and it's like, what
Oh,
was the
goodness.
point? Oh man, it's a very frustrating watch, and like the whole thing is so brightly lit that it looks like a cheap TV show because they didn't learn anything from that first movie, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So skip Raids again. I'm glad I watched it because it was kind of fun to complain about. but but yeah, skip Raids again. I don't recommend it. The first Godzilla is great. These other movies are great.
Since we talked about the two movies that don't have it, let's talk about the Godzilla horn motif. The boom 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 boom
Yeah.
boom. Uh, so it's not
Well,
in
it's
the
in Shin
first.
Godzilla.
It's not in the first two movies. It's not in Godzilla, and it's not in Raids again.
It wasn't in the
But
first one.
it
No.
first appeared in the Japanese version of King Kong versus Godzilla, and it was in the
Ah.
soundtrack as Godzilla's Resurrection.
Okay.
But it was replaced with stock music for the US version. So
Okay.
so far, as of then, it had only been in the Japanese version of King Kong versus Godzilla.
Ah.
And its first appearance in a worldwide Godzilla film was Mothra versus Godzilla, and it's as
Okay.
main title theme.
Oh.
Yeah,
I like that one, the Mothra versus Godzilla one.
yeah, it's top five for me
Yeah.
as well. And then in Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, the not the original, but the what's it called, SA
Okay.
era,
Is it 80s?
combined the Godzilla March with Godzilla's Resurrection into one Godzilla's theme. So that's when
Oh, okay, there you
it
are.
mixes that original music that's in the first one.
Uh-huh.
That's called Godzilla's March, like the
Okay.
fanfare regular music that's in the
Okay.
first one. And then Godzilla's Resurrection is that horn motif that bum 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 bum
Yeah.
bum.
It's
So
Resurrection, the one with bam 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 bam.
no, that's
That's
Godzilla's
Godzilla's
March.
March. Okay. I'm used. Doesn't one go
Yeah,
into the other or no?
that's what I was
Oh, I'm sorry.
just saying. I said in Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, they combined Godzilla's
Ah.
March with Godzilla's
Okay.
Resurrection to make
I
Godzilla's
I
theme.
always thought they were the same song. That's why I thought it was in the first one too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wrote that down because we had a brief conversation
Uh-huh.
about it, and we both called that horn motif Godzilla's
Okay.
March. That the original Godzilla theme song is called Godzilla's March,
Okay.
and this has been called both Godzilla's Resurrection and main title
Ah.
theme
Okay. And which parts used in the rap song? Okay.
Resurrection or Godzilla's main title
Okay.
theme. So yeah, technically the first worldwide appearance of it isn't even in Godzilla's movie.
Mm.
Because it's Mothra's
Oh,
sequel. It's
okay.
not Godzilla's sequel. Mothra versus
Ah, I
Godzilla.
see. I see.
So when I had first found out about the fact that it wasn't in the first Godzilla, I went on a hunt to find its first
Mm.
appearance and watched King Kong versus
Mm.
Godzilla, which I had never
Oh.
seen because I had seen Godzilla Raids Again as a kid, or as like maybe a
Okay.
teenager or whatever, and didn't
Uh-huh.
like it. So I had never watched the Blu-ray disc that it's on, and the U.S. version of King Kong versus Godzilla share
Oh.
a disc with it. So I never watched
Okay.
it. So I just watched it. It was definitely bottom half
Yeah.
of Japan's Godzilla.
Wasn't it
I
like a
I loved
co-production or no?
watching it. Yeah, yeah, and the American version has scenes that I fast
Yeah.
forwarded through of some guy in the UN explaining what you just
Uh-huh.
saw to you. It was very, very
Yeah.
off-putting. So I had watched the American version because I had my information
Mm-hmm.
backwards. I thought that was the first appearance of the theme, and it was changed for the Japanese version, but I was mistaken. So I watched this movie for no
Uh.
reason. But I did still
Uh-huh.
like it. I liked it for the Godzilla of it all. I think it was a fun
Uh-huh.
watch. And it's still better than the ones that are mostly stock
Yeah.
Godzilla footage, which is all monsters attack versus
Okay.
Megalon. But it's still like definitely bottom
Yeah.
half. I'd watch most of the good Godzilla ones before watching this
Mm.
one, but it's still like got a lot of so bad it's good
Yeah.
qualities to it.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Definitely,
The Godzilla versus King Kong.
definitely a bit of brown face
Oh yeah.
on the Japanese part. Yeah, they definitely play an African
Okay.
element.
I get you.
But King Kong versus Godzilla, I found out, started out as King Kong versus Frankenstein.
Okay.
That was the original script. It was written
Yeah.
by claymation animator Willis
Oh.
O'Brien. But behind his back, a producer gave it to Toho,
Oh.
and
Interesting.
they turned it into King Kong versus Godzilla. So this guy was just trying to make a little bit of claymation animation work for
Uh-huh.
himself, and this producer totally stole it and turned it into a suit nation
Oh.
movie.
Okay. That's interesting.
For those mourning this unmade film, Frankenstein fights a
Uh-huh.
giant monster, one did eventually get made. I haven't seen
It was
it.
Frankenstein versus Baragon.
Yes, Frankenstein
Yeah.
versus Baragon, directed by our very own Ichiro
Yeah. I want
Honda.
to watch that. I haven't seen it yet. But
I would
yeah.
love to see
But
that. Oh my god,
yeah.
that would be so
Isn't it
fun.
weird how Ishiro Honda is like there's technically Baragon with a U is part of the Godzilla universe, and he's like a quadrupedal monster with a horn, and then Gamera's second movie is versus Baragon with an A, who's also a quadrupedal monster with a horn, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. I wonder if one's a ripoff of the other, but I like both designs. I don't think I've seen any of the movies with Godzilla's Baragon in them, but I like Gamera versus Baragon.
Yeah, I think it's just like one is Dai or whatever, and one is Toho.
Hmm. Oh, you had mentioned that some of your least favorite Godzilla ones are the ones that are just stitched together from old Godzilla footage, right?
Well, I mean, I was just saying that I would rather watch one that
Okay.
wasn't.
I
Yeah,
watched a
I guess.
decent 80s Korean movie that's stitched together from Ultraman footage called War of the God
Oh
Monsters.
yeah?
Have you seen that? Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that.
See, I gave it a 3 out of 5, so it's not amazing or anything, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
And I remember
good
thinking,
enough.
like, the stuff that they did specifically for War of the God Monsters that's not from Ultraman was, like, the human parts of the
Hmm.
movie. Because, like, all the monsters are from Ultraman.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, like, the humans running away from the monsters were actually handled pretty well. Like, it's decent drama, I think. So I think it's worth watching, just
Hmm.
to see some decent attempts at making a stock footage movie. Basically, I don't know. I thought we could talk about Gamera for a little bit.
Cool,
Okay.
cool.
I mean, I've mostly only seen the MST3K ones. I keep meaning to watch the was it '90s revival. I think that's supposed to be
Yeah,
good.
that's what I was going to talk
Yeah.
about a
Have
little
you seen
bit.
any of them? All right,
Yeah,
tell us about
yeah,
them.
I was going to talk about that a little bit. All right. Yeah, the Heisei era Gamera
Mm-hmm.
movies are much better than one would
Yeah.
expect from the Gamera canon.
Okay.
You know what I mean? All three movies are directed by Shizuke Kaneko, who later directed the 2001 Godzilla movie GMK, Godzilla Mothra King
Oh,
Ghidorah,
okay.
which is, a fan favorite. Everybody loves that one, me included. It's a really great Godzilla
Yeah.
movie. And the three Gamera movies he made in the 90s are pretty much of that quality.
Okay.
Very good.
And
Uh,
like this
I
is
want to highlight the second
okay.
one. They go in a line, you know what I
Uh,
mean? You should watch them in
okay.
order. But the second one in particular is a very good.
Yeah.
It takes place in Sapporo. So it has a snowy
Okay.
setting, which I feel is unusual for kaiju
Mm.
movies. And it starts out with him fighting thousands of man sized bugs,
Oh.
which is interesting for kaiju
Yeah.
movies. And then he fights Big Legion, and it's still a bitching character design, like
Uh-huh.
a crab like bug monster.
Okay.
Really good character design, really fun, different kaiju movie with a lot of fun, different elements that you don't typically get in kaiju movies.
Okay.
All three, superb. Way better than you'd be expecting if you were familiar with the original run Gamera movies. So I recommend
Okay.
them.
I have a decent amount of affection for the old Gamera movies. Especially
Yeah,
Baragon and Giron. The guy with the hatchet in
yeah,
his head.
guy. I think it's Gear.
Giron. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
Gear.
those two.
If I
The
remember.
first couple times I watched versus Baragon, I remember not being too thrilled with it. But the since then, I've I've rewatched versus Baragon multiple times, and I really love that movie. I don't know why I didn't. It took me a while for it to grow on me, but yeah, like I love how
I
greedy
feel like,
the humans are. I love how wacky the monsters
yeah,
are. All right, go on.
yeah, like Gamera never dips below
Uh-huh.
entertaining. Like, I feel like the original run is all at the very worst so bad it's
Okay.
good, whereas some Godzilla movies just straight up fail at being
Yeah.
entertaining. You know what I mean? There's like maybe like four or five
Yeah.
that really are kind of dull. Whereas I feel like almost the entire run of Gamera is at least so bad it's
I
good.
think like the intention with Gamera, I think, because like from the beginning, I think it's got a very like kid friendly sort of appeal, whereas Godzilla seems to go back
Mhm.
and forth between being for grown ups and being for kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah. Where Gamera from the beginning seems like Gamera is a friend to all children, right?
Hmm.
And there's always like at least one or two kids who get to like pal around with Gamera or like get a front row seat to the action in each Gamera movie. You know,
Hmm.
it's very kid friendly franchise. So it doesn't get as like horror ish, but it gets very imaginative sometimes. Especially with Giron, I love that like so much of the movie is like an alien abduction movie, basically, with kids being taken to the moon
Hmm.
by the two moon ladies.
Yeah, I really love
Yeah.
that one.
Are these '90s movies similarly like imaginative and kid friendly, or are they more like adult?
I'd say they're more in line with Godzilla's SI era.
Okay.
They're definitely not as cutesy
Uh,
as Gamera tends to
okay.
be, and I don't think any of the main characters are.
Where in Godzilla's timeline do the Godzuki movies fit in? Are they Heisei
Oh,
or are they later Showa?
Showa.
Okay.
Manila. I think Gadzuki was his name in the cartoon.
Oh.
His name in the movies is Manila,
Oh.
and he is the worst.
Yeah.
He's in Destroy. No, no, All Monsters
Okay.
Attack. Destroy All Monsters is the good one.
Okay.
He is in All Monsters Attack, and it is unwatchable.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
remember
think
thinking of
so.
him as a kid as like the Scrappy Doo of Godzilla, you know.
I think he's so much
Yeah,
worse.
worse than Scrappy Doo.
I think he's so
Okay.
much worse. Yes. Yes. Son of Godzilla is I think one of the worst Godzilla
Yeah.
movies. Destroy All Monsters is like my second least favorite Godzilla movie.
Yeah, I think Son of Godzilla, watching that as a kid with dad, was I think the earliest time I remember feeling like cringe on behalf of like the thing I'm watching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm
Oh,
embarrassed
absolutely.
to be watching this.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I couldn't have been.
That's what I
Yeah,
meant when I was talking about the Gamera
yeah.
movies are at
Ah,
worst so bad it's good, and some of the Godzilla movies are downright like devoid of
yeah. I
entertainment.
couldn't have been older than like 7 when I watched that Son of Godzilla. Yeah, I don't know. So probably not gonna end up rewatching any of the Godzilla's kid ones. I'm surprised to learn that Godzuki wasn't his name in the live action ones. I remember so
It was,
strongly attaching that. That's from the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, I guess.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay.
I didn't watch the Hanna Barbera
Hmm.
cartoon though. Yeah, Godzuki from 1978 Hanna Barbera
Okay.
animated.
Yeah, I remember that show being on around the same time, at least in reruns in like the '90s.
And Manila is like an infant Godzilla. Ugh. Oh god, I'm just looking at pictures of it, feeling pissed off.
The
Have you ever heard of Damaijin, the kaiju series?
Maijin? No.
Damaijin. He's like
Oh, Gamaijin.
with a
Nope.
D. He's like a human-shaped kaiju.
Okay.
He's like a statue that they pray to, and
Oh,
some villain comes to the town, does something,
yeah,
the statue makes quick
yeah,
retribution. Yeah, it's
like a
pretty good.
golem.
The yeah,
Yeah.
kinda, but like
Uh-huh.
big kaiju size. But there's some cool things about it. Like it's a feudal Japanese
Uh-huh.
setting, so
Oh,
like
that seems
the
cool.
human elements of the story is samurai
Yeah.
stuff, and then the kaiju looks like a samurai, and he's destroying old wooden
Yeah.
buildings. It's dope. Yeah, like they're all short. I think the second one's maybe like 68
Uh-huh.
minutes or something like that. But
When were these
the
made?
first one is surprisingly brutal. It's like there's like a scene where the kaiju punches through a
Uh-huh.
wall and hits a guy on the other
Oh,
side, and you see like blood splatter and everything. It gets for a '60s movie, it gets
60s.
pretty real.
Okay.
But you can find them on the Arrow streaming
Okay.
service.
Maijin.
That was another one. I've been on a bit of a kaiju
Yeah.
tear. I don't have as much
You got any more obscure ones?
movies. Nah, not
Oh,
really.
I meant to let me look over what I've been watching actually, because I watched some stuff that's related but not exactly kaiju. Matango I watched recently, which is Ishiro Honda, but it's not a giant monster movie. Have you seen that? All
No,
right,
I
I
haven't.
recommend it. I liked it a lot. It's about a shipwreck, and basically there's nothing to eat on the island, and they're going nuts looking for food. But they find another shipwreck that had happened a while before, and it seemed like everybody on board died after resorting to eating the local mushrooms. So the whole movie, they're like arguing
Hmm.
amongst themselves over whether they should, try the mushrooms or not and stuff like that. If you look at like the poster for Matango, it looks like it's gonna be a kaiju movie about mushroom people, but it's very
Hmm.
much more.
Don't
Yeah,
listen to
it's kind of like Night of the Living Dead, but even more focused on the people, where it's like
them.
there are like mushroom related monsters that they have to look out for, but that's not the focus of the movie. It's much more
Yeah.
about the people trying to get along and trying to find a way to survive on this
Mm-hmm.
shipwrecked island. It's pretty great.
Sounds bitchin'
I
to
want
me.
to mention the Snake Girl and the Silver-Haired Witch, which is by the
Oh, I had heard about that, but I hadn't
same
seen it.
director as the original Gamera, but
Okay.
it's a ghost story.
Mm-hmm.
Also, really enjoyed that. There's some really neat special effects in it, and it's just a fun gothic horror type story, you know. So yeah, if you want to see some sort of horror movies that are related to classic kaiju stuff, Matango, same director as Godzilla, and Snake Girl and the Silver-Haired Witch, same director as Gamera. Really good stuff. Space Amoeba, have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, that's all sea monsters. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a little disappointing towards the end. I think it feels like it's ramping up towards something that doesn't really deliver on. But there's, some fun, creative monster designs, and it gets off to a good start. If you want to see a pretty unique kaiju movie that's not related to a full franchise, then Space Amoeba is worth checking out. I also just love the poster.
Yeah, that one sounds interesting.
Yeah. What's this one? It's Planet X and King Ghidorah. Oh yeah, okay. Do you remember Invasion of Astro Monster?
Yeah, I think
It's
so.
got it's one of the ones with King Ghidorah, and it takes place on Planet X.
Yeah, okay.
And like it takes a while for the monsters to start doing stuff, but I think it does a good job on the like world building in the meantime that it kept my attention pretty well. And I really liked
Mm-hmm.
the miniatures and vehicles and stuff. There's a lot of like sci-fi stuff in this. There's the big sound gun and the UFO that the people from Planet X use. I'd really like a toy of that UFO if they ever made one. I don't know. It's just a random neat entry in the Godzilla filmography that I happens to have seen semi recently. I watched it back in March, so my memory's a little foggy. But yeah, I tend to like space gadgets, retro future designs and
Oh,
stuff like
hell
that.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
You remember that that tabletop RPG we played? That's all like 50s retro future stuff.
Yeah,
What was
yeah.
that called? Do you remember?
I have no
Okay.
idea. I don't remember. We played a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Let's see. You have any more random kaiju stuff you want to bring up?
I don't have any random
Yeah.
ones, but I have some regular Godzilla recommendations if you're
Oh
ready. I
yeah.
have my little,
Let's do it.
four my four favorite that I wrote
Okay.
down. Destroy All Monsters is the best of the, just putting everybody in the movie, kind of like Avengers Endgame,
Yep.
big, like payoff type movie.
Yeah.
I think that of all the ones that try to do that,
Like a crossover type.
this is the one that
Yeah.
works the best. I feel like it's the most fun.
Mhm.
It's cool. All the movies that get Mothra and King Ghidorah together,
Uh-huh.
cool, but like this one's the one that does it with even more monsters, and I feel like it pulls it off. It's like a very fun movie. Probably on the stupider side, but I think it's honestly the best like big mashup
Mm.
Godzilla. Then one of my personal favorites is Mothra versus Godzilla. I love Mothra. I love her solo
Mm.
movie. I love almost every time she appears in
Yeah.
Godzilla
Yeah.
universe.
She's a cool.
I think she's one of the best monster designs. I
Yeah.
think the things she does looks
Mhm.
cool, and I like the people
Yeah.
stories when she's in it because of the whole
Yeah.
cult.
I like the tiny people, and they're like her
Yeah, the
her
tiny.
herald twins that sing about her and stuff.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I love it.
Yeah.
Mothra is one of my favorite, and Mothra versus Godzilla is one of my favorite movie.
Mhm.
Again, technically not his movie, it's her
Yeah.
movie. Then there's Godzilla versus Hedorah, which you had briefly mentioned. That's the
The pollution one.
garbage
Yeah, yeah,
monster.
yeah.
That's the
That's
pollution.
a really memorable one.
Occasionally, it does look like Godzilla's fighting a pile of
Uh huh.
laundry, but the rest of the movie is super psychedelic visuals, really 70s look. Awesome, immaculate movie, really good pacing. Godzilla
There's like a
versus Kong.
fan-made short film about that one that worth looking up on YouTube, just because it's like
Oh, I'll have
very
to
like
hunt it down.
visually striking and it won't take up much of your time.
Mhm.
If you search for what's the name of it? Not Violente, got Hedorah, right? Yeah,
Hedorah.
if you search for
Yeah.
Hedorah on YouTube, it would probably come up.
And rounding out my list, my favorite of the Heisei era, Godzilla versus
Oh,
Biollante.
Violante, that's the Rosebush one. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like a really memorable
Yeah.
character design, really good pacing, and really good, just a really good Heisei
Okay.
era one. I feel like they got the ball rolling a bit. I think most of the Heisei era ones are in a series.
Okay.
Like
Like they're not as
I don't know if you
standalone
necessarily
narratively.
have to watch. Yeah, I think that was like some of them kind of lead one into
Uh-huh.
another. But the last couple times I've watched Violente, it has been without any crew. I think you can just jump right in. Those are my four little like honorable
Cool.
mentions. I'd say almost all Godzilla movies are deserving of a watch. I think that it's just a fun way to spend your time is to watch a Godzilla
Mm.
movie, with the exception of a few. You know,
Yeah.
I think even the other Godzilla movie that MST3K did, Abira, I think they called it the Sea Monster
Yeah.
or something. But yeah, Godzilla versus Abira of the Deep. It's a pretty good
Mm.
one. Like it might be on the so bad it's good side, but it's definitely entertaining. I think the other one, the Megalon, not so much. Megalon is a lot of stock.
Mm. Which one has Jet Jaguar in it? So definitely didn't MSK3K
I
do one
think
with
that's
them?
Megalon.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one with
Yeah.
Megalon. A lot of the other footage is
Mm.
just not. Again, it's not really not worth your
Yeah.
time, but I would definitely put it pretty far towards
I
the
like
bottom.
Jet Jaguar as just like it's cool that this, giant space robot is part of the Godzilla universe, but I don't think I've seen a good movie with Jet Jaguar in it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
definitely.
yeah, anything left to say about kaiju movies?
Well,
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah. If we expanded anyone's horizons, then I'm excited on your behalf.
Yeah.
If you're just here because you already liked kaiju movies, then nice to have you aboard.
Hopefully, we shone a light on something you didn't know.
Yeah. Let's see. Next regular episode is going to be Out of the Past,
All right.
and we'll see you then.